The Super Bowl is tomorrow. Yeah, Super Bowl's today, depending on what day you're looking at this. So it could have been yesterday, right? Tom Brady is in the Super Bowl. They say what, 9 times in the last 12 years or whatever? He's always in the Super Bowl, it seems like. You know, the words Super Bowl are actually trademarked, copyrighted. You can't just use the words Super Bowl. So what people have been doing, if you listen to some commercials on TV or radio, they refer to the Super Bowl as the big game, the big game. And so Tom Brady's been in the big game 9 times in the last 12 years or so, and he's won 5 out of the last big games. He's always in the big game, it seems like. He's a big game player. Yeah, that's what Tom Brady is, a big game player. And we give him all the props, and he deserves his props. Although he took out my Falcons a couple of years ago, and I still have up against him for doing that. But let bygones be bygones. The man plays big in the big game. That's just Tom Brady. You know he's going to show up in the big game. And not just show up in the big game, he wins the big game. If you're old enough, you remember the Buffalo Bills. They showed up in the big game 4 consecutive years, but they couldn't win the big game. There's some athletes that you have to admire the level of skill and dogged determination. They get to the big game and they win the big game. Michael Jordan, 6 championship appearances, 6 championships. These are big game performers. But as big a game as the Super Bowl is, it's nothing compared to the big game that we show up in every day. Every time you wake up in the morning and take that first breath, you're in a big game, a game so much bigger than the Super Bowl. That's the game of life. And it's not just enough to show up in the big game day after day after day. You've got to be a big game, a player. You've got to win the big game. How many big games have you showed up in? How many big games have you won? I'm I'm 50 something years old. 365 days for every year of my life is the number of big games that I have showed up in. The thing is, showing up in the big games is really out of my control. Half the battle is showing up in the big game, getting to the big game. The other half is winning the big game. The universe is so kind, so good, so gracious to me that it has put me in the big game. Because every time I take that first breath in the morning, every time I wake up and open my eyes, I'm in the big game through no effort of my own. So half the battle is already won for me. All I've got to do now is, now that I'm in the big game, is I've got to win the big game. You've got to win the big game. Are you winning the big game? Did you win the game yesterday? How about today? How about tomorrow? If God, if the universe decides to put you in the big game tomorrow, you got next tomorrow. What are you going to do? What are you going to do different tomorrow that you didn't do yesterday? Assuming you didn't win the big game yesterday. What are you going to do different tomorrow? Because tomorrow is coming next. It's coming, ready or not. You got next. You got to win the big game. And don't be like the Buffalo Bills. I don't feel like dissing them right now, but don't be like the Buffalo Bills showing up in the big game and losing the big game. Kind of be like Brady. Be better than Brady because he didn't win every big game he showed up in. Be more like MJ. 6 championship appearances, 6 victories. That's the kind of record you want to have in life's big game. I'm going to win every game I show up in. No, don't put pressure on yourself because winning could be defined in different ways. Winning could be making an impact, touching the lives of someone less fortunate than you, improving your skill level in some particular area that makes you more impactful in your world. That's called scoreboard. What's your scoreboard? What's your scoring? Figure it out. Because if you don't know how to keep score, you will never win the game. We'll check you later. You got next.